Amazing. Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Kicking Back. And today we are joined by Ollie from the core Kickback team and today's special guest, Violet, who is creator of our upcoming Kickback digital project, Casa-Nova, which we are super excited about. So to kind of kick this off, I just wanted to ask Violet, could you introduce yourself, introduce the project and kind of tell us a little bit what it's about without any kind of major spoilers?
Yeah, so my name is Violet and I'm an illustrator. I've been working in freelance illustration for many years now, and I'm currently pursuing a Master of Fine Arts in Comics, which is also very exciting. And my collaboration with you guys is on a project that is basically a science fiction utopia where there's a world sort of locked in perpetual performance and joy until something, let's say something ominous, and I won't say anything more than that.
Amazing, thank you. So you described it a little bit. Could you tell us what was the inspiration behind the project? Like, how did the idea come to you? Could you tell us a little bit more about that? You said it was kind of like science fiction kind of merged with comics. Could you tell us a little bit more about the thought process behind that?
So so basically, like, I had attended a graduate comics reading at the end of my first month in my course, and I was really fascinated by the process of the way it was done. Like, a comics reading it's strange because it's like it's literature and it's art together, so you can't just read it out from a page to an audience. It's something that has to be performed because it's visual. And like, when I was thinking about like how I would want to do my graduate thesis, I was thinking it needs to be performance taken to the next level in terms of a comics reading. So that put these ideas in my head of, like, a queer carnival of sorts, that could be performed, as a through comics as a medium. And I was, like, I feel like queer representation works so well in science fiction. Also because, I mean, partially because, aliens can look however they want to look, which is liberation, freedom in a lot of ways. But it was also because I wanted it to be in a utopia, and the idea was sort of like millions of years in the future, or millions of galaxies away. Maybe there's like a queer utopia where people are joyous and performing and happy and creative. And yeah, so that's how this idea was birthed.
Amazing. I would love to live there, let me just say, in the future. Take me there. But obviously, aside from this project kind of being in kind of like a unique format with the comic kind of like situation going on, what do you think makes this project unique apart from that? Like, what would you say makes it stand out?
One aspect that I would say is my style. I don't want to sound egoist about that, but it's about the form itself, because I have a few different backgrounds. My undergraduate was actually in architecture, so there's a lot that I learned about design and people, and like doing research and bringing that into my work. So like bringing all of those things in, I'm always trying to sort of challenge the format when it comes to comics. So in my comics, you're going to be seeing a lot of different panel layouts that aren't very conventional. The way to read my comics is usually although it follows the general norms of reading a comic because it needs to be readable, of course.
Yeah.
But also, like, at the same time, it's looking at the form as narrative, but also as an individual, almost poster art piece where each page can sort of be seen as like its own artwork. So that's part of it. But I think it's also like a queer space carnival where there's all these queer characters, engaged in performance and art in a utopia. And I think that's the way that I'm exploring those things visually is going to be really fun. Like some of the ideas are just like, I take ideas from our natural world and then just throw them into like the great universe beyond. And that's sort of been my approach towards it. And I think people are going to enjoy that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And we can't wait to share it with everyone. So kind of building off of that, we're going to talk a little bit about the process. Now, Ollie, obviously, you've been a big key part of this process as well. So kind of what has the process been like for you this time round? Have you noticed any differences and challenges, whilst being abroad and not like in the UK? How has it kind of differed from the previous Kickback digital projects?
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing I like about Kickback Digital in particular is that it is such a different experience every single time. We have a process and we have a production timeline, and we kind of take what we've learned from every single project and try to apply that to the next. But we keep changing forms. The first Kickback Digital project was a short film, followed by was essentially like a short video game, and now we have this kind of digital kind of comics experience. So by changing the format of the artwork every single time, you learn something different every time, and you learn something different about a different art medium, which is really exciting. This is also just going to be an interesting experience, being in the US. That's of course how I met Violet. We live at the same house, the same kind of cooperative. So there's a lot of kind of similarly like-minded artists and thinkers here, and so this has been a great space to kind of just sort of gauge a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different kind of creative minds. And yeah, it's definitely, this one has felt a little bit more engaged than the others, because with them it was, have your regular meeting, do your production timeline, but essentially there wasn't a massive amount you could do other than try to help kind of schedule the creative and, give them a timeline and give them all these kind of formatting resources. But with this one, because me and Violet are in the same space, we've been able to have these in-person meetings, and kind of I've been able to see all these artworks and all these beautiful prints. And so actually being able to have kind of the work in my hands has been a really exciting experience too. And it kind of gives you a more kind of engaged whole perspective on the whole thing. So it's been really exciting.
Amazing. And it sounds a lot easier as well, like getting to talk face to face, 100%. So going off of that, this question's for the both of you. What would you say during the process the biggest challenges were and the biggest surprises were?
I think in terms of biggest challenges, it's mainly been, we both live extremely busy lives, and we both have a lot of work going on, both in terms of like university, that whole experience, and some freelance projects. So I think finding the time to kind of work on this project has been one challenge. But we seem to have made it work, and it's all about just kind of being flexible and prioritizing well-being at all costs. We want an exciting, thrilling kind of digital project that's accessible to all, but if that's at the expense of the artists and our mental health, then what's the point of it? So definitely trying to kind of maintain well-being throughout the entire process. Do you want to give some thoughts, Violet?
Yeah, I think for me, I've always been more of an artist than a writer. I've done some writing before. I used to write scripts when I was in school, but that was many years ago. So sort of like reworking the wheels and oiling the rusty writing skills, that was kind of a challenge for me, but I really enjoyed it because I think at one point they were just like, you just need to write like a bunch of script, just do it. and then I did it, and then and it was great because I think it really helped me get the ball rolling on how, my idea would be converted into a comics format. So, I mean, it was a challenge, but it was something that I think we both embraced, and it's going forward pretty well. So, yeah.
Amazing. We can't wait to see it. So leading off from that, kind of like our last couple of questions, Violet, what are you most excited for audiences to see, and what do you hope audiences take away from your piece?
Well, I don't want to give away too much about the story.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah, but I think it's sort of like an embracing of life itself, and that's something that science fiction. I feel like science fiction is always a reflection on reality in some ways, and I think a part of it is just there's an aspect of liberation and freedom and joy that I want expressed very fully to my audience. But I also want it to like sort of realistically be like, even in a utopia, there could be challenges, and that's okay. You know, we're going to get through things if we get through it together. So, that sense of community and creativity sort of coming together. But apart from that, I'm also really excited for them to see the format, because I think a comics reading and a comics presentation, it just brings so many art forms together. There's writing, there's art, there's performance, and there is video editing. Like there's just like so many like fields just coming together and presented as this really beautiful amalgamated collaborative piece. And I think that's going to be really amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Never had anything like it on Kickback Digital or Kickback before, so it's going to be really exciting for everyone to see when it's out in the open for all our audiences to see. Do you have any final words you kind of want to put out into the world before we come to the end of this episode?
Stay queer and stay together, guys.
Oh yeah. Wiser words have not been spoken. Thank you so much, Violet, for coming on this episode today. We are so thankful to have you on this project, and we cannot wait to get your project out into the world. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be queer. It's going to be amazing. And yeah, it's been wonderful having you. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time, fellow Kickbackies.
Bye.